Am I the a-hole for telling my pregnant daughter-in-law the world does not revolve around her? I, 54, and my husband Rick, 57 male, have 3 kids. The oldest, Kurt, 29 male, is married to Becky, 28 female. She's normally a good daughter-in-law, and I try to be a good mother-in-law. We have had a pretty good relationship through the years. Issues have only popped up in the last few months since they are now expecting a baby in November. It is relevant to this situation that Kurt is technically my stepson, but I am the only mother he has known. Becky is becoming increasingly difficult. She expects everyone to bend to her will because she is pregnant or because she is the mother of our grandchild. Recently, Rick and Kurt were talking about our finances, and Becky started making suggestions about what money we should start saving for our grandbaby. That same day, I served lunch. I made chicken for Becky because she isn't eating cold cuts. She made a few comments about the cold cuts that she didn't have to eat. She also made a few comments about the wine we served. She does not want Kurt drinking while she's pregnant, but he didn't agree to this. My husband and I have a second home that we just redid, knocked down the original. The new home has 3 floors. First, bedroom/hangout space, second, middle living and master, third, bedrooms. This had been in the works for years, so our kids are very excited to all go this summer. We're all set to go for our first trip in July. The issue that came up is that my 2 other kids, Tim and Cassie, 23 male and 21 female, plan to have fun on this trip, which includes having some friends to the house a few times, amusement park, scuba diving, going out. When Becky and Kurt were over last weekend, Tim and Cassie were talking about their plans, and Becky got upset, saying that because she's pregnant, this trip shouldn't be all about drinking. It's not, but we aren't banning alcohol from the house. She also said that next year's trip will not include any get-togethers because she will have a small child. Tim just told her not to worry because she doesn't have to participate in any of the fun. Becky called me and said she was upset about the plans. She said we needed to respect the fact she can't participate in all of the activities we are planning. I told her that there were plenty of things she can participate in and not worry about the other kids were doing. She then said she really thinks I should limit the drinking and parties. I informed her that I have no intention of limiting anything since this is their vacation as well, and these activities can take place on the back deck. I told her she can have the bedroom upstairs in the front so that she will not be bothered, but she was mad she would have to walk up all the steps. She also accused me of caring less because Kurt is not my son. Not true. At the end of our talk, I told her I could get a rental to have their own space, but she accused me of trying to exclude her. I reminded her that she spent many nights out drinking when she was their age, and that the world can't revolve around her just because she is pregnant. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She sounds like the type that thinks expectant mothers should be able to park in handicapped spaces. Oh, she's gonna be a handful. In fairness, there are some pregnant women that I'd happily see park in a disabled space. I'm disabled, but remember how exhausting and painful pregnancy can be? And my pregnancy was considered to be easy. But yep, not the a-hole. She definitely does sound like a handful. She's, in my opinion, the kind of person that finds herself holding a little bit of power and is now forcing everyone to bend to her will because the whole world should revolve around her. Lol, actually, I've just realized that if my ex, male, could get pregnant, this is exactly how he'd act. Not the a-hole. Your daughter-in-law is turning into an entitled mother before she even has the kid. Clearly, she thinks she's the first person in the world to have a kid. I get that hormones make pregnant women crazy, but some also lose common sense. Info. Have you talked to Kurt about this? Really, this I can't drink so nobody should, or I can't go on a roller coaster so nobody should, translates into there should only be activities that I can do or want to do. Nope. Just nope. Good for you for saying something before she gets a chance to ruin everyone's vacation. Not the a-hole. Yes, Kurt is not a fan of the nobody can thing, which is why he did not agree to stop drinking while she's pregnant. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother that he is not a real single dad since his son is in daycare 24/7? My brother and his ex were together for 3 years. They were both unfaithful throughout the relationship, and when they broke up and she got pregnant and told him there's a chance he is or isn't the father, things became even crazier. He had just gotten a major promotion and was going to be making a lot of money, and he felt like she was only keeping the baby to take his money on the off chance the baby is his. When the baby was born, they got a paternity test, and he was the father. After that, they got into a huge custody battle. She was unemployed after losing her job and living with her parents, and my brother was way more stable than her. He had money, a job, a house, and a nursery all ready for the baby. He also wanted 100% custody. I asked him why, since he works so much and didn't seem to want the baby throughout the pregnancy. He said he knows the type of person she is, and she thought she would use a baby as a pawn for his money. But our aunt is a family lawyer and helped him hire a top attorney to get full custody. And he got it. When the baby was only like 7 months, he got full custody and never allows her to see him. She begs and begs, and he refuses. He gets happy seeing her so sad. He enrolled his son in daycare every day 5 days a week from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. as soon as he got custody. He's now 3 and still on the schedule. My mom or me, since getting my license, picks him up from daycare and watches him at my brother's house until he gets off work at 8 to 9ish. He then lets him use the iPad until he goes to sleep around 10. Then it's the same routine over and over again. He doesn't even spend time with his son. He doesn't even use to change his diapers. Once my mom changes him before she leaves at 9, he doesn't get another one until he goes to daycare the next morning. The only time he even spends time with him is when he's taking him to daycare in the morning. We watch him on the weekends too, so he can unwind and basically have a bachelor pad. He doesn't even seem to love his son. His teachers, since he was a few months, are like his mother figures. He calls them mama. He's the first there in the mornings and the last to get picked up. Meanwhile, his mom is begging to see him since she hasn't seen him since COVID began. Yes, I know. And my brother refuses. Whenever my brother complains about being a single dad, I tell him he's not a real single dad since he chose to be the only parent and spent thousands on top lawyers. And also, his son is in daycare literally every day for most of the day and he never sees him. He called me an a-hole and said I'm disgusting for saying he's not a real single dad and he works to provide for his son. Not an a-hole for the sole reason he is emotionally/physically neglecting his son. So maybe not being a single dad, but being a crappy one. Just because he pays for the food and roof doesn't mean he is taking care of his son. I used to call a social worker mama when I was around his son's age, when my mother had more custody than my dad and she was neglecting me. Damn the biased courts for favoring crappy mothers over hardworking and loving fathers just because they're the mom. I'm not saying this is the same scenario between the mom/dad, but it's obvious the same type of neglect is there. She would put me in a bouncy chair for hours or keep me in the playpen just so she could hang out with her friends or party. There were other stuff too, but just all in all bad. I don't mean to seem like I am making this about me, but wanted to share my personal experience. I can assure you that the teachers/caregivers at the daycare cannot at all give him the one-on-one time he needs as a 3-year-old to develop properly emotionally. I developed BPD most likely from the neglect because I didn't learn how to form proper attachments to people. I'm doing a lot better now, but when it started showing in my teens, it was rough. He is setting his son up for a lot of emotional problems later on. If he didn't want child support, I'm sure he could have just signed off his parental rights. And like you also said, it sounded like he didn't actually want to be a parent through the pregnancy. In my opinion, it sounds like he only changed his tune when money was involved. Now it sounds like he is now using the child himself as a pawn to get back at the ex for trying to use the child as one in the first place. And I hate when parents put their children on iPads and make the iPads babysit/be the parent for them. I'm not saying giving a child an iPad is bad in general, but obviously this guy's using it to get out of parenting. Wow. My brother also used to leave his son in his bouncy chair and places him in front of a TV or iPad. That's his version of parenting when he's alone. And the daycare is really nice and the women there are great. But you're right, they can't give him enough one-on-one time. There's like 12 preschoolers in this class. They send pictures every day of what he's doing and is always clinging to his mommy there. Funny enough, she kind of resembles his real mom who he hasn't seen since he was 7 months old. Not even a FaceTime or call. Not day hall. And I'd call the mom and say you're willing to testify against him if she wants to go back to court. Even with full custody, she should be having regular visits. Yes, this. Document everything. See who else in your family cares enough about this child to do what needs to be done. This boy is suffering, and likely will continue to do so unless someone steps up for him. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for throwing my sister's confession of regretting her kids in her face?" I, 32 female, was close to my sister, 34 female, most of my life. But our adult relationship has been tough. My sister has 5 kids with her husband. The youngest was born in February of last year. I have been trying to conceive with my husband for 8 years now. I knew I had fertility issues prior, but it has been heartbreaking trying to have a baby and being unsuccessful. We have been open with our families about our struggles, and most people are really kind and supportive. But my sister has been... I don't know how to describe it. Ever since her first pregnancy, she has told me about how she didn't want to be a mom, how she was considering termination, and every time I would support her. And then she would have her babies and she would admit regretting not terminating them. She would say her husband wanted the kids, and she knew it would ruin their marriage, so she had them and would fake it. She never stopped confiding in me, even when I asked her to. I told her it was a hard topic for me to be involved in while I was struggling. She would act like I never said anything. Then a few weeks ago, my parents told me they had saved some money for my husband and I to help us have a baby. I thanked them. They said they hoped it could bring us the luck we needed. My sister was there, and maybe she was jealous or something because she started joking that my husband and I just needed to have us and how easy it is to have a baby. And then she joked that I must not be a real woman if I can't get pregnant. My parents were furious and told her it was a nasty thing to say. And, well, they scolded her. But then she said I would be a crappy mom, and that's why the universe wouldn't give me a baby. And I might have lost it a bit. And I told her, well, at least I wouldn't regret having my kids after they were born, and wouldn't be thinking I should have had a termination when they're already living, breathing babies. She was furious, and my parents were shocked. She called me an a-hole and told me she confided in me in confidence, and I feel guilty because she did, and because I was the only person who ever knew how she felt, and I lashed out in the heat of anger. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I thought this would be an everyone sucks here, but honestly, not the a-hole. Your sister was being vile. You're not a real woman because you can't get pregnant was hard enough. But you can't get pregnant because the universe knows you'd be a terrible mom? Atrocious. Your sister sounds all around like a bad person. I can assure you those kids will notice that they aren't wanted. I wouldn't honestly blame her if she had 1, regretted it, and stopped. But she had 5 kids. Each time knowing she didn't want them, that's cruel. You didn't go out of your way to out her to your parents about it. And I'd ask her before to stop confiding to you about this. It wasn't like what you said was even a low blow. It's apparently something she says all the time. For real, I feel horrible for the kids. I thought the post was going to turn into the sister offering her youngest to the sister since she doesn't want it. Not a-hole. Classic case of don't dish it out if you can't take it. It was a horrible thing to say, but she knew she was saying the most cruel thing she could say in the moment. Not a-hole. She's clearly not been respecting you over the years, and now she's mad you finally said something to her. Not a-hole. She was definitely jealous that your parents were giving you money for whatever reason, and she had no right to say those things, even as a joke, which, let's be honest, probably had a little bit of truth to it. She was clearly only thinking about herself when she confided in you about saying those things, because anyone with common sense wouldn't have said those things to a woman who is trying to get pregnant. Especially if that woman is her sister, not the a-hole. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother and sister-in-law not to have another child? This actually happened at our family Easter, but I wanted to get some outside perspective. I, 31 male, went to my brother Jacob's place for Easter. His wife Kate and daughter Aria, 3, were of course there too. To note, Aria has Down syndrome, and she probably won't be able to live independently, and she also has a heart defect. I always assumed that Jacob and Kate wouldn't have more children, as caring for Aria is expensive and takes a lot of time. However, Jacob and I were smoking on the porch and talking about our gran, who lives in a nursing home. He mentioned how that type of care is super expensive, and how they were trying for another baby to care for Arya after they're gone. I was pretty shocked and asked him to elaborate. He said it would be cheaper to have another kid instead of saving up hundreds of thousands in trust for Arya's care. I told him that was very messed up and would make the kid feel unwanted. By then, sister-in-law had come outside and she started laying into me. She said I didn't know what it was to parent a disabled child and how I shouldn't judge. She asked me to drop the topic or leave, and so I dropped it and went to play with Arya. Did I cross a line? I know how tough my brother and Kate have it, but their plan seems unethical as hell. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Tell them they should watch My Sister's Keeper. This is exactly what I was about to say. It's completely immoral. Not the a-hole. This is beyond immoral. They want to bring a child into this world to be a servant. That is messed up. Not the a-hole. Sounds like indentured servitude without the agreement part. Also, any kid brought up with that expectation will resent everyone at some point, and probably have a slew of personal issues, mental health, trust, etc. Plus, they already have one kid with lifelong learning disabilities and physical disabilities. What happens if kid number 2 has the same? Your brother and sister-in-law are the kind of people that shouldn't have a dog, let alone kids. Agree, not the a-hole. There are quite a few AITA posts from adult kids whose parents just expect them to care for their special needs sibling and guilt them about wanting to go to college or move away and have their own lives. It's really sad. And in 16 to 18 years, we will be reading here how, apparently, I was born just because I'm supposed to take care of my sister. And I love her, and she's sweet, like a little kid though. And she'll always be a little kid. It has physical disabilities too. I don't want to go to college and go to Europe, and I don't want to already be like a parent for the rest of my life before I've even had a life. Not today, ho. And every comment will be telling them to go no contact. Then a follow-up post from the parents wailing about how they did everything for their child and how could they. Am I the a-hole for favoring one niece over my other nieces and nephews? I, 25 female, have a niece, 6, from my older sister, 32. I heard through the family vine my sister was pregnant, so I reached out to her to congratulate her, but she didn't seem at all interested in her pregnancy. But then after she gave birth, she signed over my niece to the father's side of the family and moved on with her life, later getting engaged and having 3 kids with another guy. Almost a year after the birth, I found out from another relative that she gave her up because she didn't like the way she looked. For reference, she has very dark complexion, brown eyes, and type 4 hair. We are white. And told her father, you either take her before I leave the hospital or she goes into the system. When I confronted my sister about it, she said that she wasn't what she was looking for in a mixed baby, and that I should mind my business because she's not mine. I tried to ask her information about father's side, as I wanted to reach out to see if it was okay to be part of her life. No one would tell me anything. I have in the past reached out to her about my other nieces and nephews to be part of their lives, but she didn't seem too interested either. Then during the 2020 lockdown, I felt it was the perfect time to look for my niece. I found her aunt on social media. I messaged her explaining who I was and had asked if it was okay if I could be a part of my niece's life. She contacted her father and grandmother to set up a time to talk. And after some talking, they agreed I could. But only after some time of getting to know me, as they didn't want my niece getting attached, and I bounced later on, leaving her wondering where I went. After 2 weeks of getting to know the family, they introduced me to my niece, and we instantly bonded. We talk almost every day, and she calls me Titi. I'm on good terms with her whole side of the family. Her grandmother says she appreciates all the effort I put into being a part of her life, and can see how much my niece adores me. This year my niece has started school, so I bought her a whole bunch of clothes and school supplies. Her aunt posted pictures and videos of the gift box in IG, so this is where we currently are. My sister has fake profile and saw the posts, and she's saying I'm selfish for contacting them when she told me not to. How could I be favoring my niece over my other nieces/nephews? I reminded her I've tried countless times to reach out to her and build a relationship with them, but she always shuts me down. She said that if she knew I had money to spend like that into kids, then she would have been okay with it. She wanted my niece's info so she could reach out to her, and I told her it wasn't my place to give it to her and I'd have to ask. She said, but I'm her mommy. I admit I got mad and cussed her out for abandoning my niece because of how she looked. She told my whole family I'm trying to replace her and steal her life, and my family started calling me, texting me, telling me I'm selfish for choosing her over the other kids. Now for the top comments. Not today, home. But you should definitely tell your niece's father and aunt that she is stalking them. It's actually very sweet of you to help out a single dad with back to school. You could have easily followed your family's lead in abandoning your niece for racist and colorist reasons. Instead, you built a relationship with the family your niece out of love. I definitely have a lot of respect for you. I've already reached out to her family about the situation. They thanked me for not giving out their information, and all of the relatives have privated their accounts. The sister thinks it's weird she stalks her account, but couldn't reach out to them herself about my niece. They say that my family isn't a reflection on me and that I can continue to have a relationship with her, which I'm looking forward to. I do feel bad though that my family will never able to see the value of my niece like I do. Thank you very much for the support. Glad to hear. It's your family's loss. Everyone in your family could have told your sister to do the right thing, or at least let her know how wrong she is for abandoning her baby because she didn't look like how she thought she would, whatever that's supposed to mean. Everyone in your family encouraged your sister's bad behavior while trying to shame you for doing the right thing. I say screw them, and keep being your amazing self. Your sister gave up her rights to the baby. This means she has given up all rights as to who is involved in the baby's life. You aren't stealing her life. She willingly gave it away. Not today, home. Plus, it's not like Opie and the father are in a relationship. She took on the role of an aunt, not mother. Not today, home. This is summed up in one sentence you wrote. She said if she knew I had money to spend like that on the kids, then she would have been okay with it. Unfortunately, your other nieces and nephews come with your sister attached, and you will always be viewed as a cash cow. Relationships are individual. You don't have to have the same relationship with all of your relations. Humans have preferences. Things for you to consider. 1. Your sister gave up any rights to that child. That little girl is a stranger to her. She has nothing to do with her, so your relationship with her is none of her business. She doesn't get a say or an opinion. 2. Why is your sister, who is so adamant about not having a relationship with her daughter, suddenly interested? What is suddenly in it for her? 3. You absolutely don't have the moral right to hand out your niece's contact information. Your sister lost the right to that information when she gave her up, legally, based on her looks, morally. 4. Your sister has blocked you from having a relationship with her nieces and nephews until there was some money in it. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for selling my husband's Xbox to buy back the antique tea set that he sold without consent? Me, female 33, and my husband, male 31, have been struggling with money lately. I work at a hair salon while he works at a gas station. Basically have minimum wages that barely pay rent and other expenses. We do not have any savings, nor do we have the ability to save money. It's been like this for years. Recently I found out that the antique tea set that my grandmother gifted me was gone. My husband admitted selling it for $300+ to be able to buy a gaming chair for his nephew who's a recovering cancer patient. I didn't take it well, and I told him this tea set was important to me and I wasn't willing to let it go that easily. Now if he was selling it to pay off debts or rent, then maybe, but a gaming chair? No, not okay. He asked me to allow him to explain and said that A, I don't use this tea set like ever, so it's just sitting in the cabinet. B, his nephew has gone through so much and wanted a gaming chair badly, and he promised to award him for defeating cancer. And C, he said he will be giving me money to buy a better, modern tea set. But I refused to accept that it was gone and let go of it. So I contacted a buyer, and he told me I had to pay $450 to get it back, which was unfair. But since he was barely convinced to let me have it back, then I need to come up with the money. I sold the only thing my husband had that was worth money, which was his Xbox. I got $400 and borrowed the $50 from my sister. Paid off the buyer, and he brought back the tea set. My husband found out and went off asking how I could do this to him. He asked him to hear me out, then explained that I sold the Xbox since he was the one who gave away my antique tea set, so he was responsible for getting it back. He said he promised to save money for me to get a better set, but I insisted I wanted my grandmother's tea set and nothing else, even if it's worth less because the sentimental value is worth a lot to me. He blew up calling me childish and that I shouldn't have sold his Xbox, the only thing keeping him entertained in these awful times. He started sulking ever since, and kept reminding me that he was the one with the short end of the stick, since I got my precious tea set back. The buyer earned $150, but he lost his Xbox forever. He's refusing to talk to me, calling me evil with zero consideration for how depressed and upset he is feeling. Am I the a-hole for how I returned my antique tea set? I was gonna say 2 wrong things don't make it right, but then I read he did this to fulfill a promise he made to buy someone a gaming chair. He wrote a check he couldn't cash, and he should have sold his items to raise the money needed for the gaming chair. Selling your tea set was heartless. Saving up, which you state you can't do anyway, to buy you a modern one is pointless because the original set has sentimentality. I'm sure he is sulking, but he created this mess. It wouldn't be fair for you to be without an item of yours. Not stay home, but he's not gonna stop pouting for a long time. Not stay home. He stole a valuable item which you endeared in order to buy a mega expensive gift. It belonged to your deceased grandma, and it's irreplaceable and sentimental to you. It was yours and you reclaimed it. It wasn't the necessary solution to sell his Xbox, but you need 2 for tango, and it seems like the viable way to gather the money. Not stay home. He thinks his stuff is more valuable to him. Maybe he should realize things have consequences. I think so, which is hurtful and frustrating. Not stay home, but you should consider getting out of this situation, like now. Not only does your husband not respect your property, but he also doesn't seem to have much financial sense. He could buy a cheap gaming chair for less than $100. He didn't need to spend $300+ in one, no matter the reason. A sizable number of Americans couldn't put their hands on $400 in an emergency, and your husband sounds like he's in that group. That kind of money is a rainy day fund, especially when you're not making that kind of money to quickly recoup it. Your husband needs to get his financial priorities in order quickly, or you're always going to be fighting this battle with him. And apparently having time to play the Xbox. He could spend the time to find a better job. But hey, that's just me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for grad school for my sister? My sister, 22 and I, 26, female, lost our mother when she was 14 and I was 18. It was a difficult time, but eventually we pulled ourselves together and I stepped into the guardian role, because at the time my father was incapable of caring for us. I deferred my admission, left my flat share, and moved back home. I worked a lot of jobs, tutored a lot, and we survived. When I left uni, I got a great job that paid very well, and we stopped struggling. I paid for my sister's undergrad schooling, housing, because she didn't want to live at home. I made sure she had food and that she never ran out of money. She graduated recently and expressed interest in continuing her education. I told her that I would not be paying for grad school. At first, she thought I was joking. But when I told her that I was not, she got mad because I make a lot of money. Said that if I were a good sister, then I would have no problem paying for her. I told her that I'd been a good sister for almost 9 years, and I'd gone above and beyond for her, and anything from this point on was on her. She has not spoken to me since we had the conversation. Am I the a-hole? Somewhere along the line, your sister has lost track of the fact that everything that you've done for her so far has been a gift. You didn't have to move back home when your mom died. You didn't have to assume a guardian role, and you didn't have to put her through college. You did these things out of generosity and love. However, at some point you have to allow yourself to live for yourself, and she has to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. Not stay home. And hopefully when your sister finishes her temper tantrum, she'll realize that as well. And at a great cost to herself as well. Opie, what you did was incredibly selfless. Your sister knows this. She'll come around. Not stay home. Your sister is entitled. Most people don't have their undergraduate school paid for by their siblings, and certainly not to pay for living expenses. I suspect a paying her own way would do her some good. Not stay home, my friend. Very few parents pay for grad school. You either incur the debt or work, or get scholarships. If she doesn't speak to you over this, she absolutely needs to get a job and see what the real world holds for her. She's beyond entitled. Hell, a decent percentage of parents don't pay for undergrad either, so their kids have to go to work, debt, and/or scholarship route for a bachelor's degree. Plus, a bachelor is required for many non-trade, non-retail, non-food service job, So having one without any debts is a huge advantage among her peers. Not stay home. You absolutely stepped up. But unless you are ridiculously wealthy, and I'm not talking can you pay your bills on time and enjoy a few vacations a year wealthy, I'm talking has a private jet that you just keep available for your use 24/7 with pilot on standby pay wealthy. That is a ridiculous amount of money to even ask another adult to spend on you. And if you are ridiculously wealthy, she's an adult now, and it's completely appropriate for you to just say no. I am not ridiculously wealthy. I just didn't want her to struggle any more than she had to, and she apparently thinks that means that any struggle isn't acceptable. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole if I want to go on a trip against my wife's wishes? So I, 27 male, have been married to V, 27 female, for 5 years, and we have a 3-year-old daughter. My wife goes with her girlfriends for a trip every year to exotic and beautiful places. This year, my guy friends have planned to go for a 2-week vacation to Europe. We usually don't go on trips, and I haven't gone on one ever since I started dating, except for 2 to 3 days of camping trips. So I told my wife that I want to go on vacation this time, as I haven't gone on one for the past 5 years. She said no, because she doesn't want to take care of our daughter all alone, and that her work has been a lot more stressful lately. Also, she wanted us to go to Europe on our 5th year anniversary. So I reminded her of all the times of taking care of our daughter all alone when she wanted a vacation or a break. She said that it's my duty to take care of our daughter, and that I shouldn't be complaining. I told her that I'm not complaining, but it's only fair that she takes care of the kid when I go on a vacation too. Now she's mad at me because I want to go on a trip to Europe where she wanted us to go together on our 5th year anniversary, as well as because she doesn't want the baby care to be dumped all on her for 2 weeks. Am I the a-hole? Edit. She goes on trips that are about 1 to 3 weeks long depending on the location. As for child care, split. I used to do the dirty diapers at night after she did midnight feedings. However, she no longer breastfeeds since our daughter is older. We just do alternate nights since it's bottle feeding. We alternate bath times. My wife has afternoon shift, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., so she does childcare in the mornings. I have a morning shift, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so I did childcare after I get back home. My wife leaves our daughter with a nanny/grandparents at 11, and I pick her up at 3 while coming back home. When one of us goes on a vacation, daughter stays with parents for the shift timings. And after the shift, the person at home brings daughter back and take care of daughter until next day's shift start. Anyway, we take family trips over the weekend or week-long trips. She left me with a baby 8 months after her birth and went to Japan. Not day hall because of the double standard. If she gets 1 to 3 weeks every year to have a girls' trip with her friends, you should absolutely be able to get 2 weeks to go on a vacation with friends once in a 5-year period. But there does need to be some sorting out of logistics. Can a family member help your wife out with your daughter while you're gone, for example? Did I read that wrong? Or are they still bottle feeding a 3-year-old in the middle of the night? I know it's not directly related to the question, but that will mess a kid's teeth up badly. There are 0 reasons a 3-year-old would need to eat in the middle of the night, and that child should be completely off the bottle. Right? Not gonna lie, I can barely read everything after that. My 14-month-old is off a bottle completely. But this 3-year-old is still drinking out of a bottle in the middle of the night? That's a bit alarming. Not day home. There is a huge double standard going on that you need to sit your wife down and look at. So it's all good for you to be the babysitter when she wants to go on a play date with her girlfriends for a few weeks. But hell if you want to go on your own vacation? That's not fair. That's her deciding that the only one who gets to have solo fun is her, and her being controlling. Not day home. When couples decide to vacation separately, then they need to make things equal. She gets 2 weeks, you get 2 weeks. This doesn't preclude taking family vacations or vacations together. Besides, Europe is a pretty big place, and you don't have to go to the same place for your 5-year anniversary vacation. That's what I was thinking. Europe isn't a small spot. You can spend 2 weeks in one county or a day here and there over multiple countries, and still have plenty to see when you go back.
Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he has to decide between me attending his wedding and accepting I won't take part in the family unity ceremony or accept I won't be there? My dad's engaged to his partner of about 2 years. They moved in together last month, and their wedding is in December. I, 17 male, am my dad's only biological kid. His almost wife has 3 kids of her own. Her kids are younger, like under 10. Maybe they're even all under 8. I'm not that sure. They decided they want to do a family unity ceremony and have it be about becoming one family instead of the 2 of them just being a married couple. Her kids are excited by the idea and want to take part. I don't and won't take part. I already explained to my dad that I'm not interested and can't be talked into it. He asked me why and pushed for me to reconsider. He told his fiancée, and she's freaking out because her kids have this idea that they'll get a big brother out of this marriage, and my dad and she told the kids will be real siblings once the 2 of them are married. All of this despite the fact I really don't know her or her kids. I've only spent any real time with the kids twice, and it was more me trying not to be a prick than me wanting to spend time or get to know them. I think that's obvious because I don't even know their actual ages. Some background to explain some relationship dynamics, because I'm sure there are questions. My dad raised me alone. My mom took off when I was less than a year old. I don't remember her. I don't remember her being around. Her family wasn't around or in my life either. I didn't have a lot of family besides my dad growing up, except for one of his siblings. And for most of my life, Dad was a good dad. But when I was maybe 11, he started preparing me for the fact he wanted his own life and to travel the world when I turned 18, and I'd be on my own. He talked about how I shouldn't expect to see him very often, and to expect we might not see each other for years sometimes, and how he didn't want to be tied down until he dies, that he would call or answer calls when he wasn't busy with life. He said some stuff that made me believe he resented the fact he raised me alone and had to change his life for me. He never actually let up on that. He talked about it so much that we started to fight. I told him I got it, that he was done being a dad at 18, and he told me I was being dramatic. I argued that he told me I could go 5 or even more years without seeing him, and that he didn't want to be tied down, that he might even ignore calls so he could live life. I told him that sounded like he wanted to stop being a dad. He told me I focused on the wrong parts. When we argued about it other times, he said that he wanted the life he missed out on, and he wasn't waiting around for me to be ready, that I'd land on my feet eventually, and I wouldn't be his kid anymore. I'd be his peer, which he then said I misunderstood. But basically, for years I have been prepared to leave at 18 and not have my dad in my life. Then he met his almost wife, and all that talk about traveling the world was gone. He started to become a dad to her kids. He was spending time with them and building a life with them. Eventually, he tried to include me, but that was only really in the last 4 or 5 months. I've ignored it. I did babysit twice for them. Once when his almost wife was rushed to the hospital, and the second time when she had follow-up surgery for health issues she has. My dad has tried to argue that our family's growing, and I should be trying harder to be included in it. I told him that won't happen. And if he wants whatever half-hearted relationship he planned to have with me before, then he needs to accept that. That I'll come to his wedding if he wants me there. As long as he accepts I won't be a part of that ceremony. And if he can't accept it, then I won't go, and he'll need to accept that. His almost wife heard us talk it out and said, I'm not taking the 11 good years into account, and I'm punishing her children for my dad not being perfect, and that isn't fair to them. She told me a good person would be glad Dad decided to stick around and love the new people, especially the kids, and want better for them. Am I the a-hole? And for full disclosure, I have about a month to go until I'm 18, and my plan is to move out that day. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad set the parameters of your relationship when you were still young and drummed them into your head. Now that his priorities have changed, he acts surprised that you are not interested in a different relationship. Go live your life. He must have expected me to be the same upset 11-year-old who first found out what his dad had planned. But I knew he was serious, so I thought about and planned for when that time comes. Exactly. I'm just thinking I'm little you, hearing all this and wondering what your future would hold if you couldn't make it on your own at 18. This is not a good parent, by the way, regardless of how you may have felt he was good to you before all that. 11-year-old me was so sad and worried. It felt like nobody wanted me. My mom hadn't wanted me and left, and my dad was basically saying he regretted sticking around to raise me and would leave once he wouldn't get in trouble for it. I had no idea what I was going to do. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying okay when my mom's husband said he won't be coming to my wedding? My 29 female was supposed to be getting married last year, but my dad died days before the wedding, and I couldn't go through with it. Luckily, the venue we had chosen was willing to reschedule us at short notice on compassionate grounds. Our new wedding date is this summer. My mom's husband announced a couple of weekends ago that he won't be coming to my wedding. I said okay, and moved on in the conversation I was having with someone else. He was seething with rage over my response and asked me if okay was really all I could say. No question about why or trying to change his mind. I told him I had expected this and that he basically told me he was going to do this last year anyway, so why would I pretend to be shocked or beg? To provide some more context, my mom married her husband when I was 15. I didn't get to know him before the wedding, so I met him at 15. I don't consider him a father figure, and I never called him my stepdad. My older siblings felt the same way. He never put much effort in with them because they were 18 and 21 when he married mom, so I guess he felt like they were fine without him. But it always felt kinda weird because I wasn't some little kid either, and I had an involved dad. Last year added some tension. He ended up in the hospital 2 weeks before the wedding and wouldn't have made it if the day had gone ahead then. He was bitter that I rescheduled because dad died, but not so he could be there. There were also some hard feelings over me planning to walk down the aisle and dance with dad, and not him. He whined about it a few weeks after dad died and said he wouldn't come if he was so unimportant. At the time, I said nothing because my grief was fresh. But now I'm just like, okay, because I don't care if he's there or not. I really don't. His presence will not make or break my wedding. He felt like I should have argued for him to come, and mom said my okay was dismissive and rude. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Sounds like it's for the best. He's kind of a needy man-child, isn't he? Not the a-hole. I guess little man baby wanted you to be upset, beg him to come. Honestly, you handled this perfectly. Indifference is always the answer when someone is clearly trying to get a reaction. Any other response gives them the win. Indifference shows them that they are not important enough to you to care. He did. He wanted me to show him I cared oh so much. He expected me to plead with him and even expected tears, I think. The fact is, he's still bitter. I didn't reschedule my wedding because of his hospital stay, but did when my dad died. Not the a-hole. Stepdad sounds like a self-involved jerk, and your mother honestly sounds pretty bad as well. Your wedding is not about them. I'd recommend having some kind of plan for if A, he decides to crash the wedding, or B, your mother decides to make a scene. I have a plan in place just in case. My brother-in-law will be on standby. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be my sister's bridesmaid because she chose ugly friends to make herself look better? My sister, 27 female, is getting married and asked me, 24 female, to be one of her bridesmaids. I was excited until I found out who the rest of the bridal party was. Every single one of them is someone she's either not that close to or has made fun of before for being awkward or not photogenic. Some of her actual best friends, the ones she sees all the time, weren't even asked. It felt weird, so I asked her why she picked this group. She kind of laughed and said, "You'll understand when it's your wedding. You don't want people who'll outshine you in your own pictures." I just stared at her. I asked, "So you picked them because you think they'll make you look better?" She rolled her eyes and said, "It's not that deep. I just want to feel confident that day, and I'm allowed to be a little selfish for my wedding." That rubbed me the wrong way. I told her I didn't want to be part of a bridal party built on tearing other people down, even subtly, and that she should have picked people she actually cares about. Now she's calling me judgmental and sensitive, and our mom says I'm being too idealistic and should just support her. but I feel like going along with it makes me complicit. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. So what does this mean about how she thinks of you? And clearly she doesn't think much about herself. It's so sad that women are pushed to feel and act this way when this would likely not be happening to so many grooms. Applause to you for saying something and not participating. She's always been like this. I am rather curvy, and she has never failed to shame me for it. She is a typical model-esque skinny person, and she got a lot of attention growing up. She's beautiful, no doubt. But yes, I have a good-looking partner, and she has subtly hinted that he could do better than me. I don't see what she has to be insecure about. She's objectively good-looking. As for my appearance, I like the way I look. I'm comfortable with it. I just don't see why she feels the need to bring others down to make herself feel better. Not the a-hole, and I'd send a message to those girls. Questions will definitely come up why none of her core group were asked, and why her sister left. Because she lumped you right in with them. I actually did. I made a group with all these people. There's a group already, but she's in it. 2 of them said that they did not want to be participating in this capacity anymore, but were fine attending. One person said that they weren't coming to the wedding altogether. Some still haven't responded. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex's girlfriend she isn't special, and he will do it to her too? I, 30 female, was only married to my ex-husband, 32 male, for 2 years. We dated for a little over a year before we got married. When we were dating, everything was fine. He had a lower libido than me, but I was fine with how often he wanted to have sex, about 2 to 3 times a week. Once we got married, that gradually dropped to maybe twice a month, and then nothing. The last time he and I had sex was on my birthday. My birthday is April 24th, so it's been almost a year now. I asked him to see a doctor. I asked him if there was anything I could do. I tried everything I could think of. He wasn't on any medication. He just wasn't interested in it. I ended up starting the divorce because I'm not living the rest of my life like this. When I started the divorce, his ex-wife asked to meet with me and said she hadn't wanted to get involved earlier because she didn't know if I was asexual as well, but that he had done the same thing to her and the girlfriend before her. We are still working on the divorce. Thankfully, it is a fairly easy process since we weren't married long and none of our assets were merged, bank accounts, property, etc. We also do not have any children together. Anyway, he is now dating a woman named Amy, 24. Amy has shown up to every divorce hearing lately and acts smug about it, like she's winning some sort of prize. She has told me he has sex with her all the time and that I just wasn't meeting his needs. I ended up telling her he did the exact same thing to me. He did it to his other ex-wife, and he did it to the girlfriend before her. She isn't special, and give it a few months. He won't continue this. He is asexual. He's just trying to lock her in before he goes cold on her. She looked shocked and just said she doubts that, then left. Later, my ex called and was mad. He said she's thinking about leaving after what I said and has gotten in contact with some of his exes. I don't really feel sorry for him because it's underhanded and holish to do that to people. But I do kind of feel bad for ruining his relationship. I told him he should stop doing this and find someone who is also asexual, or he will never be happy in a relationship. I'm not sure if I was an a-hole for telling her, but I felt like she should know he's doing the same thing to her that he did to us. And I wish someone would have told me before I married him. I wasn't super nice about it, because she ticked me off, but still, I felt like she should know she wasn't the special one who would fix him. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She was smug. You told her the truth. If he keeps doing the same thing, that's on him, not you. Not the a-hole. If you had gone rogue and told her this without provocation, then sure, maybe you'd be the a-hole. But she was the one bragging about how much sex they were having to her boyfriend's soon-to-be ex. That kind of opened the door free and clear to you to tell her that won't always be the case. You weren't being mean. You were being honest. You told her the truth based on your experience and others. If someone had warned you, maybe you would have been spared a lot of pain. She deserved to know what might be coming. Last story. Am I the a-hole for going into detail of my crappy day to make a mother leave me alone? I, 22 female, have blonde hair that goes past my hips. I love my hair and put a lot of work into maintaining it, but you can imagine the comments I sometimes get, being compared to Rapunzel, etc. And normally I laugh this off. If it's a little kid, I indulge them more often than not, as it's cute. I've had a really rough day. My 11-year-old dog had to be put down due to cancer, and I went from the vets to a cafe, not wanting to go home and see her things and be reminded of it all over again. So I'd been sitting at a table with a coffee, waiting for my boyfriend, 23 male, to finish work and come meet me, when a mother and her daughter, who looked about 8-ish, I don't know, I'm not good with kids' ages, it's a guesstimate, came up to me and asked if her daughter could take a picture with me because I looked just like Rapunzel. As I said, normally I'd indulge this, but I was not in the mood. I was in a low mood and had been crying a lot, so I felt gross. I told them thank you for the compliment, but I didn't want to take a picture. The mother got really upset with me and told me I didn't have to be rude and that I didn't even smile, that it would cost me nothing to be nice, and that her daughter was just a kid. I admit I lost my temper at this and told her I wasn't a Disney cast member for her to badger. That she asked, and I said no, that I had just put my dog down and was hiding at this cafe because I was dreading going home to a house without my dog. That I had no interest in posing and putting on a happy face to take a picture with her child. I also started to cry again. She got very flustered at this and rushed her child away. My boyfriend finally got to the cafe around half an hour later, and I told him what had happened. He told me I took it too far, that just because I was having a crappy day didn't mean I needed to make other people's crappy too. I ended up going home not long after. Maybe I was too rude, I don't know. It's too late to do anything about it. She was a stranger. I just feel raw emotionally. My boyfriend might be viewing my actions with a clearer head than I am. Not the a-hole. People feel so entitled. Once politely declining, the mother should have walked away. I'm sure you weren't looking smiley and happy like Rapunzel. This is a lesson for the kid. Don't talk to strangers. Kidding, kinda. Honestly, I have no idea why she'd have wanted me in a picture with her kid. I didn't have a mirror on hand, but no way was my face not a blotchy mess. Not the a-hole. That idiot had no business bothering you at all, let alone getting angry when you said no. I see this a lot here. No is a complete sentence. Now, as long as you weren't rude to the 8-year-old, the entitled mother deserved the trauma dump. Oh, absolutely not. No matter how upset I was, I'd never take it out on a child. I'd have sooner removed myself from the cafe before that if it was the kid badgering me.
Am I the a-hole for revealing my parents' lifestyle to my grandparents? About 4 weeks ago, I started noticing strange looks from certain acquaintances during my lectures or when I was in the dining hall. Soon, I got a text from a good friend saying he was sorry for what I was going through. I was genuinely confused about what he was talking about. After further questioning, he told me that a mutual acquaintance of ours had been bragging about hooking up with an older woman and had shared some lewd pics. One of our friends recognized the woman as my mother. At first, I didn't believe it. I thought he was messing with me. I even joked back, saying, "Pics her, it didn't happen," expecting him to clap back. Instead, he sent a photo, and it really was my mother. I was completely traumatized when I saw the picture and felt sick. I didn't know how to bring it up to my parents, wondering if my mom was cheating on my dad. Since I live with them, I decided to bring it up the next day by calling a family meeting. I didn't want to do this, but I felt my dad needed to know and confront my mother. When I mentioned it to my parents, their reaction caught me off guard. They both looked shocked and ashamed. My dad couldn't meet my eyes, and my mom was covering her face and crying. The truth was something I wasn't ready to hear and honestly wish wasn't true. Apparently, my parents are swingers. They hook up with people outside their marriage. My dad was well aware that my mom had hooked up with an acquaintance of mine. I admit I got belligerent. I cursed at them.
told them my mom was disgusting for hooking up with someone around my age, and said she was selfish for risking hooking up with a potential peer of mine without considering the repercussions on me. She tried to defend herself, saying she only knew he went to the same college but didn't realize he was in my circle or would share those photos. I told her that was a pathetic excuse and that she had still been willing to take the risk. Then she started sobbing terribly. My parents keep trying to apologize, but I tell them to go to hell. I can't have dinner with them or look them in the eye, and I can hear them cry at night. It's been incredibly hard to go to school, and I've been missing lectures, self-studying whenever I can. I decided to share what was going on with my grandparents. They're allowing me to move in with them so I can attend community college in another state. This didn't happen without my grandparents berating my parents though. Now my parents are upset with me getting my grandparents involved. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Your parents are human. Humans are horny. It sounds like you grew up in a place that likes to shame people getting their freak on. It's not fair for me to suffer due to them getting their freak on. How are you suffering? Are people making fun of you? Do they throw rocks when you go by? Or is it the very knowledge that someone at your college has boinked your parent? Your disgust is your own reaction, and it's clear that your parents had no malicious intent. Yeah, I am being made fun of. People who I don't even know are asking me if my mom is available. Hey, I just want to take a second and reframe this situation here. Someone had intimate media of your mom and shared it without her consent. That's heinous and a serious breach of her privacy. That's also a crime in many jurisdictions. Your mom was seriously wronged here, and you've managed to make this all about yourself. The guy is a complete piece of trash for doing that. I can be sympathetic on that part, while being upset with my parents getting involved in a situation that would affect the entire family. My mother knew beforehand that this a-hole was not only around my age, but went to the same college as me. That should have been more than enough to steer clear away from him. To all the YTA voters, how would you feel if you're living your life and thinking everything is going nicely, then you notice people looking at you weird? You're getting the feeling like you did something wrong. Then your classmate/friend tells you that a mutual friend has slept with your mom, and pictures were involved. And you see the pictures. Your current reality is now shattered, and when confronting your parents, they tell you they're swingers, living a mutual lifestyle that also overlaps with your friend base and classmates. And you had no knowledge of what was happening. Don't tell me you wouldn't have been disgusted and traumatized. I call bull. Haven't we seen stories like this, where the child always finds out in the most egregious way and it never works out? If OP is younger than 21, I'd say their reaction is very valid. If OP is over the age of 21, maybe they should have approached their parents without guns blazing. Either way, the parents should have kept their child in the dark, especially when one of them is getting involved with their peers. I'm torn between everyone sucks here but leaning towards not the a-hole. Thank God someone agrees, lol. How the heck are so many people slating this kid? His mom slept with his classmate and knew they go to the same college. WTF? Swing all you want, but there has to be precautions taken. And it sounds like they were selfish enough to let their horniness get in the way of their own kid's life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for immediately donating the gifts my stepmother bought for my children? I, 34 female, have no contact with my stepmother, Mary. Long story, not worth explaining. It's been 5 years since I cut her off from my family's lives. As such, she hasn't seen my son 8 male since he was 3, and she has never met my daughter 4 female. Throughout the years, she has tried to contact me and my kids several times. My father used to help her sometimes and tell me how awful she felt, how much she wanted to meet my daughter, and that the kids needed their grandma. I've never considered her a grandparent, as both my mother and mother-in-law are active in their lives. After several arguments, my father apologized and stopped assisting her. But Mary still tries to get in touch with me every now and then. I always state I have no interest in seeing her or allowing her to be a part of my children's lives. My son's birthday was in September. That day, when neither of my kids were home, a large box was delivered to our building. I opened it to find more than a dozen new toys for my children, along with a note that read, "Grandma Mary loves you both." As I later found out, she had bought the toys on a recent trip to the US. I couldn't think of this as anything besides a manipulation tactic. My children are barely aware that she exists, so why would she send them both a box full of toys on my son's birthday? I also think she planned a delivery for a time she thought the kids would be home, so they'd see the toys immediately. Either way, my husband and I decided not to keep any of the toys. We donated them all throughout October, and the kids never saw any of them. Last week, my father called me. He said Mary had just told him about the toys and wanted to know whether the kids liked them. I told him the truth, and we had an argument. My father called me cruel and ungrateful for what I did. He said he understands that Mary and I don't get along, but she still cared enough to spend hundreds of dollars on a loving gesture for my children, and the least I could have done was let them know about it. I honestly couldn't imagine keeping those toys, but I'd be lying if I said the amount of money spent on them didn't make me feel guilty. Am I the a-hole? I mean, I do kind of want to know the story, lol. Of course not the a-hole. No contact means no contact. You didn't ask her to spend money on gifts that shouldn't have been sent. Several fights later, my father apologized and stopped assisting her, but Mary still tries to get in touch with me every now and then. There must be a good reason why she went no contact. Even her father apologized to OP until now. Either he thought everything would cool down and he will have his family together, or Mary's manipulating him so bad. Anyway, OP is not the a-hole. She turned a disgusting action into a good one. She did the right thing in both ways. Not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole. Mary knew exactly what she was doing, as she's been doing this stuff for at least 5 years. What you decided to do with the toys a stranger attempted to give your children was to donate them back to people in need. Some might throw them away, but you put the toys to good use. It might be time to go low contact with your dad if he can't respect your boundaries as well. No contact with your stepmom. Tell your father if her behavior does not stop immediately, then you'll have to reconsider how much contact you'll have with him. Keep protecting your children. I used to be low contact with my father. When I cut contact with Mary, she spent a few months trying to use him as a messenger. He's since agreed to stop, and our relationship has been improving. But I do intend to proceed with caution if he can't sort this out. She's also had her mother call me to tell me off 3 times, and her brother once. I've blocked them both. He's since agreed to stop. Oh honey, if you think for an instant he didn't know that box was coming and went along with the manipulation, I'm sorry to break it to you, but he's still Team Mary through and through. He said he didn't know about the toys until Mary told him. I think she expected a thank you note or something. I'm not sure I believe that, but that's not really what I'm concerned about right now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my mom come to my wedding after she ignored me my whole life? I, 26 male, am getting married to my fiancé, let's call her Sarah, 25 female, in a few months. And I'm super excited about it. But there's one big issue with all the planning. My mom. A little background. My parents divorced when I was 8, and my mom, let's call her Layla, remarried pretty quickly after that. She married this guy Dave who had 2 kids of his own. Ever since, it's like I was no longer a priority in her life. She focused all her attention on Dave and his kids. I'm not exaggerating when I say she treated them way better than me. They'd go on trips, she'd go to all their sports events, and they'd get everything they wanted. Meanwhile, I felt like I was invisible. She didn't ask about my school, didn't care about my friends or even my mental health. I started to feel like I wasn't even her kid anymore. When I turned 18, I moved out. I thought maybe you should care and try to stay in touch, but nope, she didn't. I'll text her once in a while just to check in, and she'd either not respond or say she was busy with Dave and his kids. I figured if she didn't care, why should I? So, I just stopped trying to reach out. Fast forward to now. I'm planning my wedding and out of nowhere, my mom starts texting me like we're super close. She wants to know all the details, saying how excited she is and even saying things like, I can't wait to see you start this new chapter. Like, seriously? I haven't heard from her in years, and now she expects to be front and center at my wedding? I told her straight up that I didn't want her there. I said I'm not comfortable with her coming after everything that's happened, and that if she really wants to have a relationship, we can talk about it after the wedding, but not before. She started crying, saying I'm holding a grudge and that I'm her son and she deserves to be there. But I don't know how I'm supposed to just forget the fact she ignored me my whole childhood in favor of Dave's kids. Now my family is split. Some of them think I'm right and that I shouldn't just let her show up when she never showed up for me. Others think I should just let it go, saying it's just one day and that I should let her come to the wedding to keep the peace. So, am I the a-hole for not letting my mom come to my wedding after everything that happened? She started crying and saying I'm holding a grudge and that I'm her son and she deserves to be there. And you're her son who deserved to have a mother that cared and prioritized you at least occasionally. But here you are. You're well within your rights to hold that grudge until you feel comfortable letting her back into your life, which is not now. Others think I should just let it go and it's just one day and that I should let her come to the wedding to keep the peace. I hate this sentiment with a passion. What peace? You would not be at peace if you had your mom at your wedding. Childhood neglect is not something you forgive and forget for most people, especially when you've come to terms with not having a relationship with your parent. She doesn't get to waltz back in to ruin what's supposed to be one of the happiest days of your life. Not the a-hole. I'm with you. I absolutely hate the phrase, apologize to keep the peace. It's only ever said to the one in the right. So she must have some sort of flying monkeys among the people you are in touch with. Do you have any idea who? Someone has been keeping her abreast of developments, or she wouldn't know anything about it. I'd be tempted to be as brutal as necessary. Tell anyone who raises the topic, I am not interested in granting her any kind of a redemption arc. I have learned how to live without her in my life, and she without me. I have every intention of keeping it that way. The subject is closed. I think we all can guess what will happen. Mom will show up, act like Mother of the Year, and try and take control of everything like planning. And demand a bunch of Mother of the Groom stuff like dance, etc. Get her pictures, and then she will vanish again. She will post her pictures on social media or show them to everyone, of course those she's in, and get all her back pats. Oh, you are such a wonderful mother. And then she'll throw those pictures in a drawer and forget OP all over again. And the only moment she might pop up is if there is a grandchild so she can get even more back pats from people. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my fiancé without telling him? To be honest, I don't know where to start. I just need a place to rant because too much is going through my head at once. I've been engaged for 3 months, and because weddings take time to plan, my partner and I decided to have it in December. But I don't think that's happening anymore. My fiancé, 29 male, and I, 28 female, have been together for 4 years, and earlier this year, he wanted to tie the knot. My fiancé has a daughter, 7, and I've been very involved in her life. She would call me mom and see me as a mother figure since her own mother hasn't made much time for her. Her mom is still around, but often fails to pick her up or spend time with her when she's supposed to. I guess I should have known what I was getting into. My fiancé and the mother of his child were not good at co-parenting, which led to their daughter developing separation anxiety. I was often the one to step in and help her calm down. From my perspective, I thought my fiancé and the mother of his child hated each other. But I was wrong. The whole time, he was sneaking behind my back to be with her. I found text messages and videos of them together. It was a betrayal, especially considering I was the one trying to help them figure out their parenting issues. There was nothing I could have done to prevent it. When I found out, he was in the bathroom, and that night he just kept getting so many messages and calls. I now call myself the a-hole for looking through his phone, but the calls and messages were from his ex, and they were very explicit, as if they were a married couple. At this point, there's no reason to go through with the wedding. It's not good for my mental health. I know in my heart that this isn't something I can just sit around and accept quietly. While he was still in the shower, I had enough time to leave and go to my mom's. I was almost hyperventilating from the shock. It's so bad that I'm not in a mental state to talk to anyone. My friends are worried, but I don't even want to talk to them. Since last night, I've been getting texts from my fiancé and his daughter asking where I am. I still have to go back to get my things with my brother, but he wants me to calm down first. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole for not marrying him, but personally, I would have printed off screenshots and left them for him to find. Either way, he'll figure it out. Maybe OP should go back when he's at work or something to get her stuff and leave the screenshots on the table, if she could still get access to them. Not a-hole. I feel sorry for you and this little girl. He and his ex are both a-holes. I don't understand co-parents like this. If you can't stand each other, then why continue sleeping together? Even if they are single, that just makes no sense to me. Not a-hole. What you did was self-preservation. You needed to protect yourself. It's normal to feel regret for the daughter, but you should never marry this man. If he betrays you before marriage, it will only escalate. Take care of yourself, OP.